This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask with your host, Dr. Judith Briles. On the show today, you'll find out where book publishing is going and how to take advantage of it. How to identify and avoid publishing predators. What opportunities are emerging as the book trade evolves in new forms. How to avoid losing money and much, much more. Join us now as a variety of publishing pros will deliver insights and strategies to take the author to the next level of publishing. It's your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Brought to you by Author U and the Book Shepherd. And now, here's your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Well, happy publishing day to all you. I cannot believe that we are now approaching fall, although people think that as soon as Labor Day is over, it's fall. But you actually have a few more weeks. So to open up the window, really to a lot of ways of what you're doing in your writing, with your publishing, with your book marketing, with maybe just your life. I have a very special guest today. She is an author. She is a renowned medium, and her name is Deb Shepherd. That as an author of the best-selling Grieving to Believing, Discovering the Afterlife, she has developed a way to really reach out, sell gazillions of books, and of course it comes from her sold-out live events that she does. She has small group readings, she does multiple television and radio appearances, and really popular one-on-one private readings that have allowed her to bring healing and hope to a global audience of fans and followers from all around the world. So today we're going to be really exploring her own journey as she became a published author, what it's done for her, and maybe we can transfer those through the airways to you so you can be successful as well. Deb, welcome to Author U, your guide to book publishing.
Thank you for having me. This is such an honor, Judith. I appreciate this.
Yeah, we'll have fun.
Yes, absolutely.
It's always fun. All right, so with Deb, she did an amazing book. So it's the from Grieving to Believing really is her story, her memoir as it goes through. And one of the things that she realized that in her late 40s that she didn't even know what a medium was. So why don't we start there, Deb? What was your wake-up call? Because you're talking about a new career, a new life.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in corporate America, things like that, and we were going through a financially difficult time, and we didn't seem to find the answers. And so I was told about feng shui, which is basically about understanding qi and energy in your home and workplace, and it opened up a door. And I started feeling people around me. Did not have any idea. Went to the library, read books, and the rest is kind of history.
So, now you've got my attention here. So did you have someone come in and feng shui your environment, change your staging, your home life, your work life?
I did. I started really studying this. I thought maybe I'd be a feng shui consultant and help other people, but when I started doing this, it just felt like this. I could feel the energy that I probably always have, but I just didn't recognize it. And then after 9/11, I was asked to be on a radio show, and I did 52 readings on and off the air. And I knew at that moment that this is what I was going to do for the rest of my life. It just was like, okay, I can do this. And I didn't even have a practice then. It was just pretty much jump into it. We were kind of really struggling, so there was no other choices, I felt. And I don't look back. I'm happy about it.
So what do you do with people who are skeptics? Because they're out there. There's a gazillion of them.
Yeah, and I am too. I mean, whenever I travel, I try to go see someone to be on the other side, and I think you should be. I think just because someone says that they can do something, they have to prove it. And my job is just to do my job and let people decide. And to me, if they want to be skeptics, bring them on. It's great.
Well, I know one of the fun things I did when I came to one of your events as you were starting to debut your book, it was so much fun to see this empty room, 600 seats were going to be in it, I think. I mean, there was a lot of seats. But you see empty, and then you just start see people trickling in, and then it's standing room only. Packed. Really hanging on to your every word, hanging on. And I'm hoping, I hope she hears me.
Definitely.
I hope she reaches out to me. Is that right?
Absolutely. You know, people are there to help other people through healing, or they want to hear from their loved ones. And so, of course, in those venues of 2 hours, we only get to probably about 15, 20 people, but at least people can know that this is possible and they can connect with their loved ones. And that's basically about the book, too, that they are still around us. We are still connected, and that just because we don't have them physically doesn't mean they're not still with us.
Mm-hmm. Well, you've done a lot of readings. What's the number count?
I think Dana came up with like 50,000. I don't know if that's high or low, but I know there's been a lot over the years. You know, I've done this for 20 years with, you know, private sessions and large groups, small groups, so I'm sure the count's up there. Plus radio, all the radio stations I've been on, and TV. And
all that. So I have a question. So how do you, I mean, your intuitive skills have to be so highly pitched, I would think. And sensing as things are floating around out here. How else am I going to say this? So
that's exactly correct, yes.
Okay. So how do you, when do you make a decision to let them come in and when you block off? Because, you know, you and I are friends. And that do you have any times trouble when you see things floating around and maybe should you say something or should you not? Do you ever have that?
Early on in my career, I would go to a friend's house or party and I would be having a glass of wine and I could feel their loved one. And that was not a smart idea. So as time went on, I learned to shut it off so that I'm not open all the time. I'm asking for, you know, boundaries, and that when someone is interested, then I'll do it. But otherwise, I don't go into that place because it's none of my business. And it's also very exhausting. It takes a lot of energy, and by the end of the day, when I do readings, I'm tired. So I don't want to be like that. I save my energy for when it's important to do it.
So you can really do an effective block.
Oh, absolutely. I think it would be like a straitjacket if I felt them all the time. And, you know, it's like going into someone's bank account or into their privacy. Unless you're asked, to me, the biggest thing in ethics for this is people are just open and they just want to prove their abilities versus being respectful of other people's time of grief. And not everyone wants to talk about that.
Right. And so, you know, all of you, let me just say this. That when you've heard me say this before, my listeners, that I talk about, you know, giving birth to a book is like a birth. I mean, that's what's going on.
It is.
Right. Yeah, it is. Sometimes books don't work. Books don't work. And there's a mourning to them. I think that for whatever, it's the wrong fit. You're at the wrong time. Maybe you screwed up. Maybe you just didn't write something that is attracted. Do you have any advice that you can give for people that are, I mean, because it is a type of grieving. You put all this work into it, and all of a sudden you're going to abandon it.
Yeah, you know, I would say it's the rebirth without the epidural, so it can be kind of painful. But, you know, I put it away because it was really, really raw. It was about my life around people who had suicided and what had happened to my family. And so being vulnerable and putting yourself out there takes a lot of courage. And we know that we're going to be judged. When you write, when you're an artist of any kind, there will be judgment, and that was part of it. Dana, my manager, says, you know, pulls it out of the drawer and said, let's get going on this. Let's get this out there. And, of course, with your help, Judith, it became much more of an easier process. So my biggest advice is have some accountability with somebody. Have someone there to help strengthen you and support you and encourage you, because I think it can become so overwhelming and so much of a place where it is your baby, it's your child, and I think we need a break from it. And having other sets of eyes, I think, really helped me make the best book that I could have written at that time.
And it's a beautiful book. And I think it's an important book in the process. Well, you have one of the things I think that's really important, because you talked, you know, I've talked about it in my new book. Your book really talked about the dealing with people who give unsolicited advice. One,
absolutely,
or it's truly unwanted or misappropriate I mean, there's, all kinds of ways to look at that. What could you, what kind of advice, let's switch to the publishing author realm, that there are people who really say unkind things about books, about the author. I mean, I'm not going to talk about the trolls, although you may have some advice for trolls.
Yeah.
You may have.
I think the best thing for me, I tell people, and I even wrote this in the book, is just saying thank you for sharing and not have a response, because they're not educated in the point of knowing how to give you advice. I always say if there's no money on the table, don't give advice. And that's why I don't go into people's field or in their realm or their life is without being invited. And we think that we're helping people when we give advice, but I think that it's a time and a place. Sometimes it feels like a scolding than a support system. And I think people don't know how to deliver things. Like they say, you should be doing this or you need to do this. And I think that feels like we're being disciplined versus supported. Mm-hmm. And over the years, people have always tried to give me advice, and I just say thanks for sharing, and, don't add to the comment, because you can't educate them at that point. That's not going to work. Other times I've come more forefront, like I'm not really asking for advice, I'm just sharing, or things like that. So just kind of cut it off pretty quickly and find out who your support system is so that you can talk with them through it.
Mm-hmm. And, here's the other comment for just that thanks for sharing. I think you might just stoop them a little bit because they don't know what to respond back. I mean, because you really haven't invited them or you're really not attempting to engage them in a conversation. But that is, we're coming up to our first break, but I want to let all of you know that you are going to get dinged. There are going to be people who will ding you, who will be critical, who knows what they're going to say. Most of my experience in the 37 books now that I've written is that if someone doesn't like your book, your topic, they may not even like you. The reality is this: they are so envious that you got it done and they didn't. And with that, we're going to go to our first break. With me is Deb Shepard. It's Author You, your guide to book publishing.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Is there a book in you? Or another? Author You shows you how to create, develop, and publish your book without being hoodwinked. If you already have a book out, you will find a supportive and brainstorming community that is connected and creative, no matter where you live. Author You brings in national experts for its book camps and annual Author You extravaganza. It has regular meetings and delivers webinars for its members on timely topics. Through Author You's extensive network, members enjoy exclusive benefits, including significant discounts for a variety of services necessary to publishing. Author You is the premier authoring resource in the country, creating community, education, guidance, vision, and success for the serious author. If you want to create a book that has pizzazz, punch, and panache, Author You is for you. Timely author and publishing tips and articles are posted on its social media platforms, and it is free. Discover Author You, where authors go to become seriously successful. Join Author You today at authoryou.org.
First impressions are everything in the world of book publishing. Whether your book is an ebook, a print version, or both, your book cover needs to pop, sizzle, and sparkle to immediately capture the attention of your audience. And your book's interior needs to be just as dynamic and reflect the professionalism your readers demand. Nick Sellinger of NZ Graphics has won numerous national and international book awards for his cover designs and interior layouts. With over 20 years of experience in graphic design, he knows what it takes to create award-winning books and the many promotional pieces that authors need, such as posters, banners, postcards, one-sheets, business cards, logos, and more. Visit ncgraphics.com and see what authors and publishers have to say about their award-winning books and how NZ Graphics can make your book the success it was meant to be. That's nzgraphics.com.
Are you confused about publishing options? Do you know which printing option is best for your book? Does your stomach flip when you think about selling books? Or do you feel overwhelmed with what to do about book marketing and publicity? Get the answers and much more. Get them and from someone who knows publishing inside and out from both the traditional and independent sides how to make a successful book. You can't do it alone without paying the price. You can spend your money creating a book that turns out to be so-so, or you can create a book that looks and feels classy, builds your brand and platform, and is a success, a bestseller. It is your choice. You choose. If you want author and publishing success, you want Judith Briles as your book coach. Sign up for her weekly blogs and e-zine at thebookshepherd.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
All right, so when we went up to the break, I was making some comments of what you do with the sneaky people who make crummy remarks. And off the air, Deb and I were talking about some of the power and negativity that social media can do. So I'd like to come back to readdress that, because a lot of the marketing that you're going to do is out on social media. What can we do to protect ourselves, Deb?
You know, I think being on top of it and knowing how to respond. For me, I'm fortunate that I have an operations manager that is on it every day, all day long, making sure that every comment or what's been said is, verified, how we can respond. So I think we have to keep up on it all the time, but you can't just let it be out there and ignore it, because it can build up to having much more negativity that's not necessary. And calling people on or start apologizing, or what can I do to fix it? So I think those things are important, just to stay aware and not just let it go out there and fly to the wind.
All right, and then what about just blocking people? I think
absolutely. I think that happens. Go ahead.
I was just saying that I don't know if you can block. I don't know if I don't think you can block on Twitter. I'm not sure. Or you can disconnect, or you can unfollow, or
yes,
can people?
Can. Dana's saying yes. She does all their social media, her and Sophia, and they definitely can. So they look at it all the time throughout the day. And when there's anything in there that is, very negative and inappropriate, she certainly calls Facebook, Twitter, this on social media. She handles it. And we get that sometimes, especially from some of the more evangelist kind of a group, Christian group, because of what I do. They'll say some things. And so it's important for us to understand those things and kind of talk them through it, or what I do versus what they're saying. So it's just educating them and realizing everyone has an opinion.
And doing it. So I think what's important, what Deb just said for all of you, if you do get any trolls, and this also includes Amazon. You can get some weird things on Amazon reviews, by the way.
Absolutely.
That if you do that, you need to report. There is always somewhere on these sites that you can report abuse, and be persistent with it. And,
100%.
Document and have all that. And if you think you're really getting some stuff, take some screenshots. This deals with, it's not going to happen often or a lot, but it can happen. And I think what Deb's advising, deal with it. Don't let it slide.
I'll tell you what happened yesterday on my fan Facebook page. We're doing an event in Boulder next month, I think it is, in September. And someone that is actually atheist, because we went onto his Facebook side, no pictures of him, but very atheist, has political views, he's not on either side, but posted twice 2 Bible verses about killing a fortune teller and murdering a witch.
Whoa.
So, yeah. So with our culture today, we take that very seriously. So Dana, blocked it, took pictures. We actually called the police and reported it because we want to have them be aware that, in my opinion, this is a threat. He didn't say he was wanting to kill me, but he was using those terms. And it's interesting because he's atheist. It's very clear on his site. So Dana blocks him. We made a report, and it's just to be smart. If you're publishing something that might be, it's not
controversial. It could be controversial.
Yeah. If it's controversial, you may get those things, and be prepared. That puts a little fear in you because of what's going on these days in our country, but it's also being smart. I don't want to hide. I don't want to not live my life.
Right.
But it's also realizing that these things can happen if you have a book that's going to have some opinions about it. If it's going to be controversial, you're going to, be prepared. Get a thick skin, basically.
The old thick skin, yes. Okay. So we're just telling everyone you'll get some dings every once in a while. Usually it's from envy. That's been my experience. But there's weirdos out here, so you need to be cautious. You just need to be cautious.
Absolutely.
With that. All right. So Deb, let's talk about your journey. All right. So Dana kicked you in the tush to let's get this going. All right.
Well, like I said, every time I pulled the book out, I felt overwhelmed by it, and I didn't know there was a Judith out there. But Dana took it out, and she started going through and reading it and putting it in different categories and giving her perspective. Mm-hmm. And that's when we came to Miss Judith. Even before that, I met you, Judith, before I met Dana, but started realizing that you do need people with experience and people that have a different look at it to read it from their perspective, how the story makes sense and what is good for them. Like you told me that I thought the last chapter would end up being my first chapter, and it was a strong chapter and very vulnerable. And you said, no, this is the first chapter. So having people around you that have written books or can help you see through another lens, basically, will help you be successful, because you can't do it by yourself, in my belief. At least in my experience.
You can't. I actually had a couple of things. Experience with a client who I sent her book back to her today. You know the old raw and clean copies. And I sent the entire manuscript back, and she has a lot of interviews within her book, and she, the dialogue is going on within it, and my eyeballs were ready to fall out, and they were all put in italics, and to translate that into a printed book, the book will be closed. And those of you listening in, this is really important to understand that if you're going to be quoting someone, citing something, whether it's an interview, something from another book, which I assume you got permission from, is that all you have to do is do an indent, just indent it and block it all the way as an indent. You don't need quote marks around it because the indent implies it's got a quote mark around it. And you just put it in your regular type, or you can have your designer change the type a little bit so there's a variation. We did that in another book for a different pop. But there was just, sending it back to her, and I said, for this next book, please don't do this again. And it turned out the editor did it. The outside editor that was used did it.
Wow.
But it took me 6 hours to undo it all. So,
Judith. And the other thing I think is important as a writer is not to be attached to what you think you have to say. Because what you want to express sometimes doesn't go across the pages as well as someone saying, well, what if we do it this way? And I think that people get really attached to how the story should be laid out or how it should be said. And I think that having experts on the other side going, this is not going to go well, basically.
Mm-hmm.
The reader is not going to be able to understand it. They're going to put the book down. It's too flat or whatever. So, I think not being attached, I had to let go of my baby for a while to say, you guys come and tell me how this is going to be the best fit for us. And that's what happened.
Yeah, Well, and going through the process is you have to decide, are you writing just for you? So is this a therapy thing from part of your healing, which we will support totally. I will support that totally. And doing that and understand that it may not have any broad distribution, or maybe you won't finally publish it. You're just getting it done. And the other side is, no, my intent is I want to sell books. Then you have to write your book for the reader, whoever that reader is. And I think
exactly
for what Deb did, since she clearly knows her audience out there, that she could write it so as if she was in front of hundreds and have that conversation. I think one of the best compliments you can have, especially for the nonfiction world, is for someone to have your book and say, I felt like I was having a conversation with you, that you were talking to me.
That. Yeah.
Well,
people
perfect.
have said that, and I said I've read it twice because I missed things, or I feel like it was my story, and that's what you want people to do. You want them to be able to connect and feel what you're saying, so that it resonates with their soul.
So, with what Deb's saying is, let me go back. 3, 2, 1. What Deb is saying is that you've got to really know your audience. When we come back from our break, I think we're going to deep dive a little bit more into that, because if you really know who you're writing for, your writing is so much easier. We'll be right back. It's Author You, your guide to book publishing.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, with your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
Discover the power of you and your book at the Judith Briles Unplugged events. Each summer, Judith Briles Book Marketing Unplugged unfolds over 3 intensive days working with just Judith. You get publishing strategies, author and book platforms, book marketing panache and pizzazz, and authoring tools to take you and your book to rock star success. In the fall and winter, Judith Briles Speaking Unplugged includes Judith as your coach and mentor during 2 powerful days. You will learn how to structure a speech, how to create openings and closings, how to find gigs that pay you and sell your books, and you will get one-on-one coaching. Go to thebookshepherd.com and click on the Events tab to learn how to participate at the next Unplugged Workshop event.
When Ned Thompson and Harry Shore started Thompson Shore in 1972, they believed employees with great character would make up the best company. They were right. They hired people who were not only experts in bookmaking, but who were obsessed with quality and delivering exceptional customer service. Almost 40 years later, Thompson Shore remains a 100% employee-owned company. Ned and Harry knew that successful customer projects are a direct result of empowered employees. We specialize in all books for large and small publishers, creating beautiful and well-made books. We're dedicated to pleasing our customers by making the experience a good one from start to finish. The personal touch we have with our customers allows us to be innovative in solving their most difficult challenges. Our platform also ensures that we can remain flexible to meet our customers' unique needs and expectations. Our marketing kit can create buzz for your title, enhancing the promotion of your book during infancy. When you need to test the market to gauge your future sales, we can provide digitally printed books that will transition seamlessly into a larger offset run. From ebook to hard copy to delivery, our skillful customer service teams are at the ready to answer your most pressing question. At Thompson Shore, we know that making the highest quality books requires more than just best technologies. It requires superior customer service, professionalism to the trade, and commitment to environmental and social values. With these standards of excellence in place, you can be sure that we will always help you put your best book forward.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. Coming up, you'll hear more about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
Alrighty, so we are talking about a variety of things, but writing success is what it's about. And as we went to the break, we were really looking at the market. Who is your market? I have said this so many times that you put down your laptop wherever you are, whether put down your iPad, put down your phone, however you're listening to it, just don't look at it. And across from you is your ideal reader. Who is that person? Is it a male or female? How old are they? Are they married or single? What are their hiccups? What are their habits? What are their secrets? Do they have kiddos? Do they work? What kind of work do they do? Fill in a whole scope. So it will help you. I'm going to guarantee it as you write and put it out. And you visualize that, and you can, and they will ask you questions. I know that all my fiction authors, that when I've asked the question, do your characters start telling you what to do? And they said always. Once they get really into a book, the characters start taking over. It's very cool. So do you want to add in? Yeah. I mean, I think it's a kick.
I think I had a little upper footing on this because I already did have an audience or a following, but you do have to look at who's going to buy it and what are they going to pay and how are you going to keep their interest. Mm-hmm. And what I realized in my book was everything, the type of paper, the cover of the book, the artwork, everything in it had a purpose. It wasn't just thrown together. And I don't think people realize what you have to go through, not only for your audience, but who's going to read it? What is it how are they going to feel it? And what do they want to get from it? So the book has so much of a story itself, just how it's created. And mm-hmm. I think that people have an idea, but they don't understand all the complexity that goes with it.
Well, one of the things that you did with your book is that you branded it with your whole company and what you are. So you brought from your colors in, from the presence of how it was going to be rolled out in the visual display, and even then finally into the incorporation of how you started the marketing out. So was there any elements you knew, well, let me ask you this. How did you decide to bring in the cover the way that you did? And for everyone, I'll tell you to take a look on Amazon, Deb Shepherd, Sheppard, and it's Grieving to Believing, From Grieving to Believing.
Which was helped by Judith Briles. She's the one that said no, because I had a whole different title. And that's what I'm saying. When you change, you can't be attached to exactly how you want it, because sometimes what you think is not the best way for your book to be in the hands of your readers. I really it takes a village, in my opinion, to write a book, and that's what you brought together.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it does.
It takes a village, and I think people don't understand that that's what it takes to really get a good product out there. If you fail the first time, I think you're not going to go out the second time. So try to make it successful as possible and spend the money and the time and take in the advice. Dana, which looks over all my social media, and you and other people said, this is what it looks like. And we made a couple little changes on it, but otherwise it was just it was the village that helped me.
Villages.
I have no regret. Yeah.
Well, it does take a village, and sometimes you have to move the village around a little bit, but pretty much it comes in, and when the designer gets your book and what you're trying to do, it flows so much easier as well, which you had.
That's amazing, and good designers, Judith. So to me, I didn't have to waste time looking for my own resources. You already had them together and said this, and that's what worked out so smoothly. As soon as I got that village or those people, it just kind of went. It had a life of its own, all by itself, and I could not be more proud.
I love your book too. Okay, so let's talk about, and this is, of course, involves a lot of the work that Dana did, because you had Amazon order 1,000 books.
Yes, it started selling. We're in 11 countries right away when we launched it last year, and then it's number one in 6 categories on Amazon. So that's what it does when you do all the right things and put all the right things together. It just explodes because it becomes an item that people want. And when you get the reviews on there, it really helps people to go to that book and realize that it was successful and helpful for them.
Mm-hmm. And that's when you can do it, is that, you know, if you're pitching it, for example, I'm going to add this on, and Deb, I don't know if you've done this, but if you haven't, we should be doing this, is reaching out to like foreign rights agent. So we can start, if you're already out there in other countries, that it may be that China will pick it up, maybe Korea will pick it up, maybe England will pick it up, maybe France.
Okay.
India. I mean, I think one of the biggest kickbooks is Korea bought one of my parenting books, Parenting Money for Kids, years and years ago, and they did an amazing, beautiful publishing job. I mean, I didn't. It was so gorgeous. Of course, I didn't know what it said, but it looked really good.
yeah, that's the other part of it, that I don't understand it. And I think we haven't done that yet, but that's something certainly that we can talk to you about. Yeah, I was really interested in that. And,
definitely.
You know, with my topic, it faces everybody in the world. Death and dying is going to affect every single person in this world. So I'm really honored that I get a wider audience, so it can affect a lot of people and help a lot of people. And that's not always the case with a lot of writers.
Mm-hmm. And it is. So let's go back to your big order. What did you do in the process that spurred all the activity where pre-orders were coming in on Amazon?
Well, we marketed a lot between Facebook and going to the events and doing radio and TV. I did a lot of those things. We actually had a relaunch when we worked with someone that you know. I think her name was Judith. Sandy, yeah. He helped us to relaunch it again. And then we're going to do another relaunch because now it's going to be an Audible book. So I think people take the opportunity to continue to relaunch their book, to put it out there in front of people. That is so vital. And it's every single time I'm out there, I talk about the book. And you can't just let it be forgotten. You've got to remind people of the book.
Mm-hmm. And so Deb's doing absolutely right on. Audible is the big growth movement, and you all should be thinking about doing an Audible book, you know, ebook, print book, Audible book, the big 3.
We have all those now. The Audible book was an interesting process because what we did is we hired professionals to read the book, and going through those things and having someone else read your book out loud was just an interesting process for people that are going to do that. You've got to look at it. It's not, again, you can't hold on to everything. And if you think that you can read the book and you're not a professional, I would suggest that you hire somebody. I mean, I talk for a living, but I wanted someone that was professional to read the book.
Well, and also there's a difference between reading and feeling the book, since you're more you're into sensing. And I've had many authors say, yes, I want to be the narrator on my book. But do you know how to be a narrator when you're reading?
Exactly.
You know, do you know how to do the pauses? Can you change your voice up and down when you have a different feeling and experience? And that's really important. It's not just reading line after line after line after line. It's storytelling, actually.
I did have a beginning of the book where I welcomed people to my story, and then the end of the book I had something. So you can put yourself in there, which I think puts that personal touch. But having someone that reads it, that knows what they're doing, and it's not expensive at all to do, and they also will help you get the book out there. So it's a win-win.
Well, also, yes, and I'm so glad you mentioned that, because a lot of narrators have their own fan base, and they actually will let their fan base know they just completed a new book, and you might want to go get it. So. That's
so the more
huge.
people that will talk about your book, so the more people that talk about your book, the more chances you have of selling them and getting into the hands of people that it will inspire or help or whatever your intentions are of your writing.
All right. So we're 2 minutes from our final break, but I'd like to open the door to you're working on your next book now called Soul Contracts, Life Lessons. So Tell us about that.
Well, over the years, I've been teaching to people about what their life purpose is. And there's a difference between your calling and what you're here to learn. So my calling would be as a medium. Yours might be as a writer or an editor or a teacher. But I think that our lessons are really our purpose. So the pain that we go through, for instance, the losses of your children, Judith, that you've had and what you've been through, to try to find reasons or purpose for those, and how to heal, as well as how to find tools to be able to overcome or manage these things better. So it's a big deal.
So where are you on the writing on it? What's your process this time?
I'm going to need Dana and Judith again.
Oh, okay.
I have a lot of it written down, and it's one of those books that, like you've always taught, Judith, short as a new black, to explain these things but make it short so people will have that interest and want to read the next chapter.
Mm-hmm. And lead it on. So here I have an idea. Okay, I'm going to give you an idea. Everyone listen, this is how you tease your next book. That if you can, there's a couple things you do, and maybe, Deb, you already have some other writings that we might put together as a little mini book, not a bunch of, maybe anything you've written, articles out there that we can kind of pull it together and we can give it out, make it a freebie out to everyone that ties into it. And we can get the cover, let's get the cover designed, get it up on your website, and let's just do this off your website. I don't know what Dana would have to tell us what the visitor attraction is. But
I think we did that with the first book, Judith. That
all right,
had
we did
a small,
all right,
and that's
all right.
That's how we had lots of. Okay.
All right, we'll be right back. One more time.
This is your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. And we'll be right back with more great information right after these.
The book shepherding concept is simple. The publishing world is changing, and so must you. You need an experienced shepherd and guide to collaborate with you as you create, strategize, develop, publish, and achieve your publishing goals. Publishing is riddled with obstacles, sometimes nightmares for the author. You do not need more problems. You want solutions. Dr. Judith Briles will shepherd you through the maze and chaos. At times, she has had to step in and rescue a book that has been sabotaged by a publisher, by a publishing service provider, and sometimes even by the author. If you want author and book success, connect with her today at thebookshepherd.com.
At Total Printing Systems, customer service is our priority. We are located in Southern Illinois. Our employees have an average of 18 years experience and know that customer relationships are important to our continued success. We have been a short-run book printer for nearly 40 years and always stay at the forefront of technology. Our niche is from 1 to 5,000 copies. Today, we offer digital, black and white, and 4-color high-speed inkjet printing, a cost-effective way to introduce color into your short-run titles. We, of course, offer traditional offset printing as well. Bindery is done in-house, from adhesive case binding to PUR perfect binding to mechanical binding of all types, including side sewing. We provide warehousing, kitting, distribution, inventory management, a new print-on-demand facility, streaming browser-based ebooks, and bookstore. Call us at 1-800-465-5200 for a quote on your next book project. You can also visit our website at www.tps1.com.
Welcome back to your guide to book publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. If you want to write and publish a book, if you want to be successful as an author, your guide to book publishing, everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask, is for you. Stay tuned and you'll hear about statistics, scenarios, and strategies on what to do now to get you published. So let's get back to the show. And here again is your host, Dr. Judith Briles.
All right. So in our last 12 minutes with you all, what we're going to do is Deb is talking about her next book, but just strategies as you go forward with it. So one of the things that you want to create, I'm just going to encourage you, and I'm telling Deb as a client, is you want to create a flyer of some sort, just one page. I always use bright colors. Sometimes I never even had a book cover. I just had the title, or what the topic was. But I could write a couple of paragraphs or maybe throw in a few bullets of what the benefit was to the reader so you could start the enticement. You throw out the line and you start reeling them in. And that's exactly what you're doing with this kind of stuff. And you offer them a pre-deal. That they can order it from you. Directly. We typically sold 400 to 500 books this way, which would cover our printing costs. That was very typical. And I started pre-selling a book as much as 6 months in advance. Before I even wrote the book, I was pre-selling the book because here's why. I was testing the market. Was there a market for it? Was there an interest in it? And Deb, this would be perfect for you to see, is there the soul contracts? It's a great title. Is there an interest? Will people want to pick this up?
Yes, and we did that. We did that with the first book, Judith. I reminded that you had us do that, and so when we were at the events, people pre-ordered, which helps Amazon then want to buy the 1,000 books or have 1,000 books ordered. Mm-hmm. And I think, and Dana's already right now writing stuff up. Already got this. We got this. We got to talk out to Rebecca. So I think we're going to do this for the soul contracts, and it'll get me motivated to finish it.
Well, and I think that you'll go much faster this time, because you've been through the process. It's not going to be. It'll probably be a smaller book. I mean, people love the smaller books because they can get through them. They're raised now on sound bites. That's what they think and read in sound bites. And in life lessons, how many lessons do you think you're going to have?
Correct, and you will see a theme when they do the work, you start going through the workshops or the book and things like that, they begin to see their patterns. It's very recognizable so that when it shows up, that you're able to address it without it lingering a long time. And that's what it's for. And, this book is not going to be as personal, so it will be easier to write because it's about teaching, not about what my journey was about. So I think it'll be an easier write. Mm-hmm. For sure.
Exactly. So you're now going to be the instructor.
Yeah.
But woven with stories. I mean, I'm starting to see the book. So, and that visualization that comes into play. But
absolutely.
You can start setting it up, and I would have it set up on your website so people know it's coming. And join the mailing list, so to speak. Then on Amazon, when it's available, because that you're in the published account, the available, and you can start taking pre-orders, then you can contact everybody and say, all right, you can go now and pre-order your book, and get it special before everyone else, or whatever you want to do. And when I used to sell them myself directly, before Amazon, by the way, was ever born, that I mean, God, now I'm really telling you I'm long in the tooth here. But before Amazon was born, that we had a flyer and we set the price. And I mean, one of the books I was going to sell for $15 and it was just gobbled up. I raised the price to $20, no resistance. I actually ended up publishing at $25, but everyone who bought it at the lower prices, of course, that's what they paid. And I always do on my pre-flyer, I paid for the shipping if I was going to be doing the mailing to them. If you're directing it to Amazon, it's a different animal, and the Prime accounts. But there are different ways to do this very strategically that you can really do. I guess maybe this was the precursor to crowdfunding and Kickstarter, what I used to do.
Right.
Because
the other thing I'm hearing you say, and I think this is especially for new writers, authors, is to have a good website.
Yes.
People are not going to find you just because you have a book published. And people go on social media, they Google. So if you don't have these things done, or a fan Facebook page or something, that's where they find you. And I've seen websites that I'm thinking, they're hard to use, they're not colorful, they're too whatever. You've got to get a good website, number one.
Yep. That's part of the infrastructure. And if I was really to think of the laundry list of boo-boos, that I've certainly experienced multiple times with the authors I've either worked with and getting them going, because I get this writing thing is a lot of work. I get that. Deb gets that. She went through it. There's a lot of things. And the last thing you want to worry about is, I've got to set up what social media. You want me to do this? You want me to think about marketing? Do you want me to restructure my website? What do you mean I have to write my book? The reality is, when you start writing is when you need to think about marketing. At the same time, it's simultaneous. And the second thing is, you've got to have this infrastructure in place, which means, as Deb says, you've got to have a user-friendly website. It's got to express who you are. It's got to be easily navigatable, and it's got to provide content for them to want to keep coming back. And you got to keep adding to it. And I know you're saying, but wait a minute, I got to write my book. We know that too.
It's like having twins. It's like having triplets. The other thing is looking at your audience when you look at your Facebook. Like for mine, I like to make sure that the wording is larger, because my audience is a little bit older normally, or people are grieving. Mm-hmm. So you need to make sure that it's nurturing and kind and easy to use, because if people are coming to your website and they're in a difficult place, if you make it difficult for them to know who you are, you will fail. Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's like I have strong political views about certain things and experiences and feelings about them, but you won't find that on my social media in many cases. Yeah, it's not there, because I'm about publishing and I'm about author success. So that's what my social media is going to be about. You really, this is so important. The number one boo-boo, in my opinion, besides not writing your book, is not having the infrastructure in place to support the book when it gets born. Yeah. And people need to know that.
Yeah, it's like setting up the nursery to bring home a baby. You got to have it all set up.
Yeah, ideally, that's an ideal thing. Some of us, when we brought babies home, we were so broke it didn't matter. There wasn't a nursery.
No. It was in the drawer. You pull out the drawer and wrap the blanket. Yes.
Actually, my firstborn had a drawer, by the way.
Yes, probably that's where I got it. Yes, so you put it in the drawer. You still had a place for it, though. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Oh, no. Yes, she had her own drawer. She didn't have to share it with anybody. No socks or anything else. All right. All right. So Deb's working on her next book. She's now inspired to get going. All right. So we've got some events. We can let people know. Let's gather the names. You're going to show up with a clipboard to take things around, to be notified when the book is available to purchase. Or to add on to your email list, which is number one. That another boo-boo. Emails are so critical to be able to capture.
Absolutely.
Facebook can go away.
Now I feel like now I'm in the hot seat, Judith. I'm having the pressure, which means accountability. And Dana's across the room shaking her head, yes, like we're going to do this. So any writer out there, just get someone to help encourage you and inspire you, and be your cheerleader, because that's the way you get it done. Yes.
That is the number one. And I'm going to go back to, writing is not a solo journey, although too many authors go into the solopreneur positioning. And when you surround yourself with other people who are writing, really writing to publish, and this is my little ding with a lot of writers groups. I see people join writers groups thinking they're going to move their book forward, and the reality is a lot of the people in writers groups just like to write. Their goal is not to publish. And if you're looking for critiques on your book, that you need to have critiques coming from people who are consumers of your type of book. Otherwise, their input, I would say, worthless. And I know I get criticized when I say that. So
no, I agree with you. And the other thing I think is important if you want to write and get a following is do a blog. Even if it's a fiction book.
Yep.
Blogs, you start to be getting to get, people that are interested so that when you publish your book, you already have your audience. And I don't think people understand that you have to create an audience.
Yes. Well, now we're back to marketing 101.
Yeah. But people don't do that.
No, it's essential. So going back to, you carry the clipboard, you get the names, you do a blog, and I'm a big believer. I do 2 blogs a week, but you pick a day. Don't try to do 2 right away. If you're going to do it once a month, you're going to get in trouble, because then it becomes out of sight, out of mind. And you pick a day, whether, usually I would avoid Monday because Monday's just busy for a lot of people. And I would avoid Sunday, but otherwise any day can do. You can push something out, but whatever day you pick, by golly, rain or shine, it doesn't matter what holiday falls on it, you publish a blog on that day. And you can set these up way ahead of time. All right, Deb, we have 1 minute to go. Anything else you'd like to add?
Make it fun.
Oh,
not a chore.
yes.
Make it fun. Make it a fun journey. Celebrate. Like you always said, when you write, make sure that you have a reward at the end, and I think that's important to keep people motivated.
Oh, yes. I gained 10 pounds on one book with my reward one year.
Yay. Hey, it was fun, though, getting there.
Yes, I did. It was a bag of M&Ms every time and it was not a little bag, people.
Good for you.
It was every time I finished a chapter, I did that. All right. So, Deb Shepherd, check out her website, DebShepherd.com. Get her book. You'll find it on Amazon, From Grieving to Believing. And with that, Deb, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it, and we'll see you soon.
All right.
Thank you for being a part of Your Guide to Book Publishing. Everything you want to know but didn't know what to ask. With your host, Dr. Judith Briles. Each